Melissa Margaret and Alex Kaufman joined forces in the spring of 2017 to form a unique approach to design. Fresh, modern, layered, and edgy perfectly describe their partnership as well as their personalities. These two formidable feminine forces add elegance and beauty to every residential and commercial design project. While Melissa Margaret leads charge on the residential front, weaving her cutting edge design, custom textiles, and creative millwork into clients' interior renovations, Alex is an equally creative force to be reckoned with on the commercial side. M Squared Perspectives and Big Renovations and Design. A mouthful? Maybe. Though their brands coexist in market, which is somewhat peculiar for partners, these women insist that their independent identities can still thrive and prosper within the context of a partnership. They are collaborative, obnoxiously resilient, off the chart, innovative women, not afraid of bucking the trend. Rather, they harness the power of their collective energies, resulting in a fresh, modern, unique approach to residential, commercial, and millwork design. They are bigger than their logos. They are bigger than their brands. Their work is simply unparalleled and is taking Durham region by storm. Meet Alex Kaufman and Melissa Margaret. Big Renovations and Design, M Squared Perspectives, living their legacy one client at a time. All right, guys, so episode 1, Black Lacquer. I know, so sexy, right? The sleek, the sexy. So really this episode, we're going to have a little chat about preparing for the interior design show that's happening in Toronto the third week of January. It's coming up, and it's big. It's really big. Yeah, and like really, I mean, this was probably the very first project that I kind of got on board with. Oh, I'm Deborah Senior, everybody. Hello. And I'm just the one who convenes the talks for these two. But really, reins us in. The IDS show was the first project that you guys called me in on to kind of help steer the ship there. Yeah, but like, just tell me a little bit about, one, why you decided to do it. 2, why you decided to do it big, because you didn't just buy a 10 by 10 booth, right? You bought the premier booth space in the whole show. And like, for those of you who don't know, the interior design show is probably the most luxe show in Canada. So
the elite go there.
It is. It really is. So like, how did that come about? Because you guys really started your partnership, what, 3-4 months ago?
Yeah.
To make a sizable, like, what was the investment for this show?
So this, by the end of it, booth and all, it'll be a 6-figure investment. It's a huge investment from Big and M Squared, but the truth is, so is this whole partnership.
Yeah.
And being two really powerful, strong women, we needed to go bold and we needed to go big. And people don't need the same thing anymore. They need difference. You know, in this time, we really just need to enjoy the luxuries of life and fantasy and escape for a while. And great design should be that. And so we did choose a massive size booth.
Yeah, and to kind of add to that, these shows you walk through and booth after booth after booth are kitchens and flooring and kitchens and flooring. So our booth, we take all of that and we combine it into one space that shows our potential clients that we just don't do one thing. We do a variety of things, and we are with you from the very first day ripping out those cabinets until you're cooking your first meal in your kitchen, pretty much.
Which
right?
hopefully we're invited to.
Yeah, with wine.
With wine, of course. It has to be
that?
wine.
Okay.
So tell me this, because most people starting out, they hear a 6-figure investment and would run screaming to the hilt. So I kind of want to know from your perspective, Melissa, like, I'm with you. I get the whole, give me luxury. It's leather shoes all the way at this point in our life, right? But for you, and clearly you skew on the younger end of the scale.
Yeah.
What was that like? Like, did you have to be talked into it?
No, was it kind of my idea to begin
Kind of
with?
was her
Wow.
idea.
I think, Going through school, we always had to do projects at IDS, and it was one of those shows that you're just kind of like, if I ever get here one day, I know I've made it type thing, right?
Wow.
So to be able to do this with Alexis, like it's pretty much a dream come true, I would say. Like it's just, I guess when you're there and you're a vendor and not just somebody walking around, you really see what other people see in other companies, right? So to be able to have something that explodes and catches people's attention is definitely a must, and I think that's where you come in the most, is with all your design styles and glitter and glam and everything. That's what catches people. As for me, I'm more muted, I guess, in my design style, so to be able to have a booth that not only people walk past but actually want to walk into is definitely a must in
so
layout, I guess.
So
if that answers your question.
I think it does a little bit. I think that you guys, especially because you're on the creative end, are always going to veer into the sexy, the glam, the good. And I do want to get to that stuff. But I don't want to skip over the process, right? Like, I don't want to skip over that decision making and what that looks like. And it's interesting because Durham Region, as a lot of people don't know, has the highest percentage of women in business in the country. Okay?
I know that.
And there's a reason for that. And I don't know what the reason is. And so I'm really trying to kind of uncover that a little bit if I can. So I know that if I had to make a 6-figure investment into our first joint project, I would be a little hesitant, but you guys seem to like go in this head on and are like flying.
I think that relies a lot on trust within each
Yeah.
other. I think when we first met, it just kind of clicked. It's like one of those things that it just works. Like you don't really have to work to make it work, I guess.
Yeah. And I think it speaks to us as individual designers.
Okay.
So design is subjective. Creativity is subjective. We've discussed, as you did in the opening of the segment, that there are a plethora of designers, decorators out there in this industry. And, you know, at the end of the day, it comes down to what the customer, the client, is comfortable with. And I always have said, I built my entire career on this when I talk to clients, you have to feel that synergistic bond. And the great thing is that I was blessed at this stage in my expansion to find someone that I felt that synergistic bond with. Going out there with designers, it's the same thing for our clients, right? It's the same thing. They'll fall in love with their designer, and that's who they should design with.
So I'll tell you when I fell in love with, you know, kind of trying to coordinate the IDS project is when you guys said, we're doing a black lacquer kitchen. And I was just like, oh my God. That is so
It's not
sexy.
something you see very often.
It
right?
isn't. How did that even come up?
Look, I think when you're in a show where it's your dream come true, okay? And yeah, it's not the first time we're going to be there. It's, you know, the beginning of many, many opportunities and events. But at the same time, when this is the first time that we're going together, and it's a fantasy, right? The truth is that things that you see at the interior design show are on your wish list, your bucket list for maybe 10, 15, 20 years before you can actually obtain them. You know, that's years of overtime, that's years of working, that's years of dreaming of it. You know, I always admire when I go to clients and I've got 50,000 pages of home and decor and House Beautiful magazine ripped out in a hand pile, and they say, make this. So that's what this was. You know, this booth was a fantasy, and it is a fantasy. It's black lacquer, it's gold, it's Madman meets The Future is Female. Like, it's intense. This booth is
I think
intense.
that describes it perfectly, actually.
So tell me a little bit more about it. There is obviously going to be featured in the booth both the residential and commercial sides of the business, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to swing it over to you, actually, because I want to hear a little bit about what you're planning for this residential space that is the future.
Okay. Well, first off, we're going to have a black lacquered kitchen, which you don't come across very often. And in a show like this, you have to have something that stands out that people remember. You have to get people to remember your booth since they're walking through so many different booths, right? So being able to have that cool lacquered kitchen. And basically what we're doing with it is designing a small apartment style living.
Okay.
So within the city, you have a lot of people in these small condos that have no storage and they don't know what to do with their space. So to be able to take our booth that is the 20 by 30
Yeah, it's huge.
and make it into a small apartment where people can walk through is definitely something unique that you probably wouldn't really see in any other booth. So drawing in with textiles, with colors, but having a feminine look on it, but not too feminine that it's going to turn away the male crowd that goes to this show, right?
Yeah.
So we're definitely going to bring in a lot of golds, blacks, play on kind of our branding too.
Yeah.
So then it's kind of manipulates you into remembering our business, I guess. A bit.
And what type of textiles? And I love the word textiles because whenever somebody says it, I go, what the heck?
Delicious.
Like, what the heck? Like, what?
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Well, through textiles, not only accessories,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times when you design a room, you want to keep the neutral colors on the wall and you bring the color in through textiles. So we'll have pillows, we'll have blankets, a lot of furs, a lot of...
And you do your own custom.
I do, yeah.
that's right.
So we're definitely going to have those.
Everything at the booth from, the textile perspective will be square arch.
Yeah.
So, her shop in Orno, which carries the whole line of her textiles.
Which we're filming from today,
Which we're
actually.
filming from.
Main Street in Orno.
Yes.
Come on down. And if you don't know where it is, let me explain a little bit. Orno is just east of Bowmanville, but you'll say, I don't know where that is. So we're probably about an hour east of Toronto, about an hour and a half west of Kingston, and 15 minutes, 20 minutes from Peterborough?
Yeah, I bet
Yeah.
that,
And if you don't know where that is, Google it on the map.
Yeah, that's because then we just can't help you now.
Yeah.
Now we're out.
Okay, so that's the residential part of the booth.